Welcome back, everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden, 866-582-9933 is the number to call to speak with me live, 866-582-9933. If you'd like information about the health opportunity, the wealth opportunity, if you're listening to the podcast, want to know more, 855-347-3696 is the number to call. That's 855-347-3696. I think it's time to shuffle off to the great state of Missouri, Dr. Wallach's home state. Ford from Missouri is calling. Hey, Ford, thanks for the call. You are live.
How you doing?
Pretty good.
My name is Cord, by the way. Sorry.
Oh, Cord. Sorry, Cord.
Oh, I've had actually two questions. The first one's actually, I actually have a good friend here in the community. She's actually an herbalist.
Yeah.
And she is, I don't like to disregard her, what she says, because she's pretty wise. She's been around and had her own herb business for about 20-plus years. And when I went back a while back, when I was talking to her about, vitamins and minerals and how they could possibly be the, and a lack of them could be a cause of the diseases and cancer and stuff. And she kind of agreed with me and said that sounds reasonable, but to her, I don't know if a lot of herbalists think this, but that she thinks all diseases are from parasites. So I don't know if you've heard that before. I've never heard it from your show. I've never heard Dr. Wallach talk about it, but I kind of have three questions in this one question, so I was kind of wanting to know, what are parasites, and are they dangerous to our health, and if they are, what we can do about them?
All right, great. Well, these are all very good questions. I'm getting some feedback from your system, so I'm going to thank you for the call, and I'll answer these questions one at a time when you're off the air here. So here's the deal. There was a PhD. I'm going to remember her name in a minute. She wrote a book called The Cure for All Cancers. I'm going to think of her name in a second. I don't know. I'm having a senior moment about it, but I've had the great good fortune to meet her at a holistic health freedom expo in Chicago. Got my picture taken with her. She was in her 80s at the time, very frail, and she died, I think, of a heart condition. And I apologize. I'm going to think of her name in just a second. But in any event, she was the person that forwarded this whole notion that parasites are the cause of everything. And again, a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing. Parasites are a very real thing. But her position was based on her position was based, from the way that Dr. Wallach and I look at it, from a misinterpretation of results. So if you didn't know anything about anything, you came here from Mars, right? You're a Martian, and you land your little flying saucer here, and you see there's a big fire. There's a neighborhood that's in fire. Right? There's 3-4 houses, they're all on fire. And remember, you don't know anything about anything. And so you walk over to where the fire is, and what you see is lots and lots and lots of fire engines, and lots and lots and lots of men and women in fireman suits. You could reasonably assume that it was the firemen who caused the fire, because there's a lot of fire and a lot of firemen, right? That would be, of course, a misinterpretation of the facts. Well, the woman who wrote this book, The Cure for All Cancers, who was the standard bearer for this whole thing about the relationship between parasites and disease, misinterpreted the data. What she found was that there are, in fact, if you cut tumors open, if you excise a breast tumor or ovarian tumor or sarcoidoma from somebody's body and look at it under a microscope, more often than not, you will see the presence of parasites there. Now, does that mean that the parasite caused the tumor? No, but that's what she assumed it meant, but she's wrong. Parasites don't cause tumors. If parasitic infections caused cancer, then third world countries would have remarkably higher rates of cancer than we do in the United States, and they don't. Parasitic infection is a very real thing. There's all kinds of parasites, by the way, Cord, all kinds of parasites. You can have little worm parasites. You can have little amoeba parasites. If you go camping in the woods and you drink water that has giardia in it, which is a little amoeba. It's a little, it's a little microorganism. Once that sucker gets into your digestive tract, you swallow it and it scoots through your stomach acid and gets into your small intestine, sets up house in the small intestine. You get all kinds of gastrointestinal symptoms, not the least of which is diarrhea. The most famous parasitic infection is called Montezuma's Revenge. If you've ever been to Mexico and had the water there that wasn't purified properly, well, you know what I'm talking about. So there's all kinds of parasites that are in the world. And by the way, one of the reasons why our life expectancy has gone up, back in Benjamin Franklin's day, George Washington's day, the average life expectancy was in the 30s or the 40s. It might not even have been that long. Back in the Egyptian days, in the days of Pharaoh, Hildy Clark was the woman's name. Hildy Clark was the woman that I'm talking about who wrote the book The Cure for All Cancers, and she was the one that had the standard bearer for parasites are the cause of everything that's wrong with human suffering, and it's just not correct. But back in Pharaoh's day, the average life expectancy was 25, 27, 29. I mean, that's why the Egyptian girls got married when they were 13, because they're only going to live to be, they're lucky if they make it to their 30s. So our life expectancy has, gone from the late 30s and the early 40s to our late 70s now for one reason and one reason only, that's sanitation. So by eliminating parasitic infections, by eliminating diseases born from filth and bad water and bad sewage. Once we learned not to pee and poop upstream and drink downstream, once we figured that out, we dramatically reduced the stress to the human body and increased our lifespan. And there are still parasites in the world, which you can readily see, anytime you go to Mexico, as an American or a European. But Hildy Clark got it wrong. Parasites are often found in tumors, but they're not the cause of the tumor. There are a number of things that can cause cancer. You can be exposed to ionizing radiation and get cancer. That's got nothing to do with the parasite. You can be exposed to asbestos and get cancer. That's got nothing to do with the parasite. You can drink carcinogenic stuff. You can eat tons and tons of acrylamide, a chemical that's readily found in fried food, and that'll give you cancer because acrylamide is carcinogenic. You can eat tons and tons of nitrosamines, which are formed from nitrates that are found in meat, in preserved meat. And nitrosamines are carcinogenic. They cause cancer. So there are a number of things that can cause cancer. And, parasites, as far as the medical community is concerned, just aren't one of them. Now, is it good to have parasites in the body? No. It's a bad thing. And is it a good idea to remove parasites from the body? Well, yes, it's a good thing. However, we get people all of the time who have arthritis, who have high blood pressure, who have type 2 diabetes, who have attention deficit disorder, who have insomnia, who have sleep apnea, who have depression and psoriasis and whatever. And they get on board with science-based, clinically verified protocols which support and promote the structure and function of the part of their body that's in trouble, and they recover from their condition. Now, and it's got nothing to do with parasites. So if they didn't recover from their conditions, then you could make the argument that we were missing the boat. That, there's something else going on here, and maybe Hildy Clark was right, maybe it is parasites. But we get results. So because we get results consistently over and over and over again, and because we have an educated scientific physiological understanding of the pathogenesis of disease. I mean, we know the nutrients necessary for the body to have to not get type 2 diabetes. I mean, this is just simple science, physiological science, biochemistry. This is not rocket science, and it's not even debatable. This is all academic. But medical doctors have no training, no experience, and, no even appreciation for any of this. They're closed-minded, cowardly individuals. With medical doctors, all they know is drugs and surgery, and they are so closed-minded and cowardly that they are unwilling to step outside of the box that they were forced into through 12 years of their medical education. They're just not going to step outside of that box. Even though they see that their therapeutics are not working, they're still not going to give up the ghost. And this is why we say, medical thought, scientific thought, progresses one funeral at a time. We have to wait for the old generation to die off before our correct information takes root. This is why what we do here is make good sense common. We make a good sense common so that 20 years from now, 30 years from now, the stuff that we're talking about now will be common sense. It's not common sense now. It's good sense, but it's not common sense. But if we keep up what we're doing, it's only a matter of time before it becomes common sense. And the problem with herbalists, if I can make a broad, ranging criticism here, is the same thing that's the problem with acupuncturists and chiropractors and, quite frankly, a handful of naturopathic physicians. People become entrenched in the stuff that they're taught in school, and then they don't go any further than that, and they're apt to believe incorrectly information that's presented to them, because the information that's presented to them is presented to them in, not a bad scientific methodology, but because we've lost critical thinking, it's easy for us to be fooled by our own lack of perspective. Again, this is the human condition. And this, again, is one of the greatest things, to my way of thinking, about Dr. Wallach's message. Because it doesn't matter what you think about it. It doesn't matter if you can figure out the biochemical pathways or not. It doesn't matter because it gets results. And results matter. And that's what we lean on here, ladies and gentlemen, results. Results yesterday, results today, results tomorrow. And that beats a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. Welcome back, everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden here. I got to give a little shout out to the Peanut Gallery here. Thank you, Peanut Gallery. Yeah, I'm getting texts, I'm getting instant messages, I'm getting all this support and telling people, it's Hulda Clark, it's Hulda Clark, it's Hulda Clark. Hulda Clark is the name of the PhD, passed away, God rest her soul. Hulda Clark, the woman who forwarded this idea of the relationship between parasitic infections to chronic disease. And regretfully, Hulda Clark was only seeing a little bit of the greater, she's just seeing a little piece of the pie. And she magnified that to, a level that was just really inconsistent with reality, quite frankly, from my point of view. And, she died in her 80s. Dr. Wallach in his early 70s is going strong. And so we want to look for results here, right? We get them, and that is a good thing. We're going now to Idaho. We're all over, popping all around the country today. Nope, I guess that's not correct. We're going to Michigan. I'm sorry. Pam is calling from Michigan. Hey, Pam, thanks for waiting. You are live.
Hi, Doctor. Thank you for taking my call.
You're welcome.
We love listening to your show, and we love longevity.
Oh, that's very kind. You're very kind and very smart if you love longevity. I've got to tell you, I've been a licensed naturopath for over 20 years, and since I've been following Dr. Wallach's method as delivered through the agency of longevity, the stuff that I've seen people recover from, it eclipses anything that I was taught in naturopathic medical school, and there's lots of reasons to love longevity. So once again, thanks so much for the call.
Okay, my daughter was diagnosed with petit mal seizures, epilepsy at age 10.
Ouch.
And so she had acne and eczema at that time, too, and she's now 21 with a 2-month-old child. And she's breastfeeding, and she's been on the Healthy Start Pack for about 3 months, and the doctors had her on the Lamictal, zonisamide, and folic acid since she's been 10 years old, and she's still had the breakthrough staring seizures. And in her 4th month of pregnancy, they started her on the Laboxil for her thyroid. So now the baby has a little occasional wheezing, And, we just wondered, what you feel about that. She hasn't had her son vaccinated, and they want him to have the polio shot. We're against it, and do you have an opinion on that?
Well, yeah, don't do it. That's my opinion. If the evidence supported its use, then I would be in favor of it. The only vaccine that's really shown to be effective is the tetanus vaccine. I've got no problem with the tetanus vaccine, but, honestly, most people in the United States don't even need that, because the only time you're going to be exposed to tetanus is if you're walking barefoot around, cow poop and rusty nails. I mean, when does that happen? It never happens. So, honestly, if the polio vaccine was effective, then I would be in favor of it. If you look at polio, the resurgence of polio, or the history of polio in the world, it follows a bell curve, right? First, there's a little bit of polio, and then a little more, and then it skyrockets, and then it peaks out, and then it starts to fall off. And all chronic infectious diseases, or acute infectious diseases, are of a similar notion. I mean, for goodness, the Black Plague in Europe, it didn't last forever. It came out of nowhere, up, and then it disappeared. All acute infectious diseases do this, polio being no exception. Now, when the Salk polio vaccine was delivered, it was at the very, 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 very end of the bell curve of polio. So, that's like it's like my neighbor's house is on fire. It has burned right down to the ground. There's one little ember left, and I go over and throw sand on the ember and then take credit for putting out the fire in the house. It's nonsense. Again, this is a misinterpretation of the data by a closed-minded, dogmatic, dangerous, outdated, old-fashioned medical profession, and yet it is the exception to the rule. Most MDs will tell you, incorrectly, but they'll believe it with, every fiber of their being, but then they will tell you that you're being criminal if you don't vaccinate your child, for polio and for everything else, and they really believe their own nonsense. And, thank God we live in a somewhat free society here where we have the ability to decline vaccinations. I would decline the polio vaccine.
Right. Okay, that's what we were going to do.
Okay, all right. So now, for wheezing, running up against a hard break here. Stick with me through this commercial, and I'll tell you exactly what to do, not only for your daughter, but your grandchild as well. We are speaking to Pam about her is it grandson or granddaughter, Pam?
Grandson.
Okay, grandson. So, to support and promote the structure and function of the lungs and the respiratory system, which is what you want to do when, the chief complaint is wheezing, is essential fatty acids. So, the recommendation would be, how much does the grandson weigh, do you know?
10 pounds. 10
pounds. I'd give him 2 EFAs a day, 2 essential fatty acids a day. Sterilize a needle. Pierce the little gel cap with the pin, with the needle, and squeeze the oil out, onto your finger, and let the child suck it off the finger or put it in food or whatever. Get the oil in his body twice a day. I would also give him the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, and I would give him the OsteoFX Plus, also appropriate for body weight. There's no...
She's breastfeeding, so would she be giving him any of this?
Well, you can put it in a little bottle and give it to him, no problem.
Oh, okay, but she's breastfeeding, I mean. And
well, that the child is, if she wasn't breastfeeding for whatever reason, she'd be giving the child formula in a bottle, right?
Okay.
All right, so you would put the Beyond Tangy Tangerine and the OsteoFX, of course, mix it into a liquid and put it in a bottle with a little, a nipple on it and give it to the child that way.
Okay.
So, that's a really good thing to do right out of the gate. And, of course, from our point of view, epilepsy is related, of course, to a functional breakdown in the central nervous system, right? It's a functional breakdown in the central nervous system. So to support and promote the structure and function of the central nervous system, the recommendation is 1 healthy brain and heart pack, per 100 pounds of body weight per month, 1 bottle of Renew IQ a month, 1 Healthy Brain and Heart Pack, 1 Renew IQ. And I love selenium. Everybody in my world gets selenium, 1 bottle per 50 pounds of body weight per month, not to exceed 4 bottles a month. And then, of course, the secret sauce here would be a diet that's really high in cholesterol, because guess what? Her central nervous system is made from cholesterol. So I'd give her 6 eggs a day, a minimum, with butter and salt. And, of course, complete abstinence from the 10 bad foods. Now, while you're doing that, you want to, of course, follow the medical doctor's recommendations for whatever the drugs are, if you feel so inclined. And as her health starts to improve, you can go back to them, and they will have to take her off of the meds as her EEGs improve, and as her blood work improves, and as her general quality of life improves. And that's, again, what we lean on. It's all results-oriented, proof in the pudding stuff. Not even an MD can argue with a normal, ECG,
right?
Normal blood work, and so this, of course, is the goal. But remember, in order to optimize this, right, what we have to do, in addition to fill up the person's nutritional tank with the requisite nutrients, we have to have her or him or whoever it is stop eating the 10 bad foods. Because if they don't do that, it's like we're trying to pour nutrients into a bucket that's got holes in it, and the stuff's just going to run out the bottom before it gets into the body, and that's a fool's errand. So clean the diet up, give the nutritional supplements, and a diet that's high in cholesterol. I do that for 90 days. And I'm going to bet you 25 cents that when you start to give this child the Beyond Tangy, the OsteoFX, and the EFAs, within 7 days, you'll see a noticeable turnaround in his breathing patterns, all right?
Great. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Hey, Pam, check it out. Thank you for the call. Thank you for everything that you do for your community, your family, and your friends. Abby is next from Miami, our favorite caller. Hey, Abby, if you might remember, Abby was with us about a month ago, had 27 conditions that he'd been suffering from his entire life. They're all gone, thanks to medical nutrition. We love it when Abby dials in. Abby, how's it going? How can I help?
Hi, Dr. Glidden. How are you?
Very, very good.
This is very, very, very fast. Have a child, 70 pounds and has asthma.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay. Well, asthma. And so is the child in the hospital, or are they on inhalers, or what do you think?
No. He's fine. He's just wants to know how to recover from. The mother asked me to call to see how to recover from asthma.
Okay, so to support and promote, Dr. Wallach, I heard a fantastic story about this. Dr. Wallach, of course, is a very famous evangelist in the South. His name is Creflo Dollar. I think he's centered in Atlanta, I think. Creflo Dollar's daughter was dying in the hospital from asthma that was unresponsive to conventional treatment. That, drugs were not working, and sometimes this is the way that it goes with asthma because MDs have completely gotten it wrong from start to finish. So it's not surprising that their stuff goes wrong, given the fact that their therapeutics are the leading cause of death in the United States. So in any event, Creflo Dollar heard Dr. Wallach on his radio show, and he called him up, and Dr. Wallach said, well, if my daughter had asthma, to support and promote the structure and function of her respiratory tract, here's what I would do. And he lined up a program for him, and within a week, Creflo Dollar's daughter is out of the hospital, and within 3 months, her lungs are 100% fine. 100% fine. It was remarkable. With such a remarkable turnaround that Creflo commissioned a book that Dr. Wallach wrote called Black Gene Lies. And it's a fantastic essay on the ridiculousness of the conventional medical notion that black people, African-American people's health in the United States is worse than everybody else's, and it is. Black people in the U.S. have got it. I mean, they've got it bad economically. They've got it bad health-wise. But medical doctors have been telling blacks in this country that their health is crappy because of some mysterious black gene. It's nonsense. The health of black people, African Americans in this country, is bad because they eat way more fried food than everybody else. And fried food is perhaps the most deadly thing anybody can eat. It contains a chemical called acrylamide. Acrylamide is pro-inflammatory. It's carcinogenic. It is one big bad voodoo daddy. And just by eliminating acrylamide and fried food from your diet, you can add 5 to 10 years to your life. So, this is the thing. You don't know what you don't know. Now, when we're up against it with the respiratory tract, in order to support and promote the structure and function of the lungs, the recommendation is 1 healthy start pack per 100 pounds of body weight per month, 1 extra bottle of EFA+, 1 extra bottle of EFA at the 180 count, and 1 bottle of selenium per 50 pounds of body weight per month, not to exceed 4 bottles a month, plus complete elimination of the 10 bad foods. Now, in a situation like that, you would reasonably expect to see an increase in the structure and function of the breathing within 14 days, which will then grow on itself like ice melting in the springtime, or since you guys have no idea what that's like down in Miami, it's like watching a flower grow. By the way, folks, I was just with Abby and about 130 other people in Miami last Saturday. We had a fantastic event. The longevity group in Miami is growing rapidly. Why? Because it works. And Abby's a living, breathing, walking, billboard for longevity because of all of the differences it's made in his life. And this is, why we do what we do, because people are suffering needlessly here just for lack of knowledge. So dial that program in, but always remember the diet, Abby. They've got to eliminate the 10 bad foods into the bargain. Give me a call back in a couple of weeks for the progress report, and I'll look forward to that. Does that sound good?
I will. Thank you, Doctor.
All right, Abby. Thanks a lot. Keep up the good work, brother. This is the thing, ladies and gentlemen. We're in a very unique position here because we know what nobody else knows. We have it's not like it's a secret, right? This information is not a secret. But because the medical arena has been monopolized by the pharmaceutical companies for the last 100 years, because they have a lock on the industry, because they have a lock on the education and the mindset of medical professionals, medical professionals are not concerned with learning anything other than what they're taught in medical school. And this is the biggest unaddressed problem of medical education in the United States. It is a brain freeze from day one. Scientists are not taught to be free thinkers. The whole PhD program wasn't taught to open people's minds and broaden their horizons. PhD and doctoral programs were taught to get people thinking inside of a particular box, and that's what medical doctors do. And this is the biggest problem. I went to school with a lot of my pre-med days at the University of Massachusetts. I had a lot of friends. And I was the only one not going to conventional medical school. Everybody else was going to become an MD. I'm not, because I saw the light from an early age. I wasn't going to become an MD, but I'm hanging out with a lot of people who did. And they're nice, open-minded, friendly people, but they're not anymore. Because when you go through the meat grinder of medical education, you come out the other side actually believing, that if I was not taught it in medical school, it is not valid. If I was not taught it in school, it is not valid. Buzz, click, it's like a robot. And this is the problem. So it's not like the stuff we have is a big secret. The problem is that your medical doctor doesn't want to know it, has no respect, no appreciation for men, and certainly no training in medical nutrition. And so when we come around the bend saying, hey, everybody, it's the sun that's at the center of the solar system, guess what? The earth isn't flat, it's round. Guess what? Women really should have the ability to vote. Everybody looks at us like we've got 4 heads. They try to throw us in jail, out-regulate us, make it illegal to practice medicine unless you're an MD. And, this is the situation that we're up against here in the United States, in Canada, in Australia, in most parts of Europe. That's where the whole term alternative medicine came from. For goodness sake, I don't practice alternative medicine. You know, calling me an alternative medical practitioner is like calling a poodle an alternative dog. What? It's not an alternative dog. It's a different kind of dog. There's no dog that's a dog. What are, the Great Dane's the only dog that's a real dog and every other dog is an alternative dog? Is it the MD the only one that practices medicine and everyone else practices alternative medicine? No, it's not, but that's what you've been trained to believe. And honestly, that's what MDs believe. So they've been brainwashed as much as you have. This is a big problem because we've got, blind people driving the bus. What's going to happen when you put a blind person behind the wheel? You're going to go into the ditch, and that's exactly what's happened here. Leading cause of death in the United States, MD-directed medicine. Leading cause of bankruptcy in the United States, MD-directed medicine. Leading burden on the U.S. economy, MD-directed medicine. Why is all of this happening? Because we took the wrong dog to the hunt. We put the blind person behind the bus. The medical system doesn't need to be refined. It doesn't need to be streamlined. It doesn't need to be tweaked. It needs to be abandoned. This is why I call this show Fire Your MD Now. I'm not being vindictive. I'm being realistic. Fire your MD now. Get on board with medical nutrition instead. It's better. It's more effective. And it certainly produces specific and measurable, noticeable results. Check it out, ladies and gentlemen. You don't know what you don't know. This Thursday night, the webinar is on thyroid health. Dial it in. Check it out. Know someone in your life with a thyroid problem? Well, if you have a subscription to the webinar series, just go to the back office, cut, copy, and paste the URL and email it to them. Invite people to Thursday night's webinar all about thyroid health. And right now we're going to end up the show by going to my favorite part of the United States, Santa Cruz, with Mark. Mark, sorry for the wait. Thanks for hanging on. You are live.
Hey, how you doing, doctor?
Pretty good.
Doing all right. Okay, just a little comment about the thyroid. People can check out if they're gaining weight or dry skin or if they're losing a portion of their upper eyebrow. I think that's an indication of low thyroid.
Hey, that makes you the smartest man in class. Hey, you're going to have to turn your computer off there, Mark, because I'm hearing myself in the background. It's a little disconcerting. All right, okay. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, okay. So yeah. I'm still here, yeah. So, yeah, that's right. If you are, the main symptoms of an underactive thyroid are that you're colder than everybody else. You always have an extra sweater on or an extra shirt on, or your hands and feet are colder than everybody else's. Your eyebrows are starting to thin out from the edges in towards the middle. Your hair is starting to fall out, either in big clumps or in little strands, and you're gaining weight, which is inconsistent with the amount of calories that you're taking. Of course, the final nail in that coffin is you're tired all the time. These are all indications of an underactive thyroid, and of course, because the chief complaint that people have when they go to their doctor is, holy smokes, I don't have enough energy. It's potential that everybody could be dealing with an underactive thyroid. Thanks for that heads up, Mark. Now, how can I help, and what you call about?
Testosterone in the naturopathic perspective. I understand people do take herbal things. They take maca. They can take Bulgarian tribulus, and they can take horny goatweed. But outside of the herbal therapy, what about raw orchic? Have you had experience with that? Does that actually work to increase testosterone?
Well, raw orchic is, the testicles of cows and sheep, right? So it's not necessary to get that extreme. Because, remember, this is the holistic method, and the holistic method is extremely practical and pragmatic, and so we just go back to the drawing board and we say, all right, well, if you're low in testosterone, let's pull up the testosterone flow chart and let's look to see what testosterone is made from. And when you dial it all the way back to the original cause of testosterone, it's cholesterol. All sex hormones are made from cholesterol, period. So, if you don't have enough cholesterol in your diet, then your hormones are going to be low. whether it's testosterone or estrogen or progesterone or pregnenolone or dihydroepiandrosterone or whatever the heck it is, something's going to be low, not because there's anything problematic with you, not because you have a broken piece inside your body somewhere, but probably because your body just doesn't have the raw materials that it needs to churn that stuff out. So the first place that I go to for 90 days when I am attempting to support and promote the function of the endocrine system here, which is what we're dealing with when we're talking about hormones, is I recommend one healthy start pack per 100 pounds of body weight per month, one bottle of HGH Youth Complex per 100 pounds of body weight per month, one bottle of selenium per 50 pounds of body weight per month, and a diet that's high in eggs. I want you to eat 6 eggs a day. Eat 7 eggs a day, eat 8 eggs a day, eat butter and salt, and, salt all your food, eliminate the 10 bad foods, and concentrate for 4 weeks on consuming food that's high in cholesterol. Don't worry, there are no illnesses that are caused by high cholesterol. There are no illnesses that are caused by high cholesterol. There are some illnesses that will cause high cholesterol, but it's not the other way around, as your medical doctor has been telling you for 100 years. They're incorrect. 2 + 2 does not equal 5, it equals 4. They are incorrect. So all you have to do here, Mark, in Santa Cruz, is just give your body the raw materials that it needs to make testosterone, get the heck out of the way, and it'll make it. And by the way, if you start using Tribulus terrestris or horny goat weed or other botanical agents, the intention of which is to drive your metabolism, drive your hormone production a little harder, which it will, you get a million times better results if your body is nutrified, if the gas tank is filled, if the nutrient tank is filled. So, I do the nutritional stuff first, and then after 8 weeks, if you want to, you can add the herbs for a little extra kick if that's even necessary. It's probably not going to be. We're all out of time. Folks, this Thursday night, my webinar on thyroid health. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. Thanks for your time. I'll see you tomorrow.